Hey guys, this is Krama. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna be doing something a bit different because this will be one of those how-to videos, uh, sort of school or classes to lockpicking. I will be talking about disk detaining locks because this is something I've gotten into very recently and I find the mechanism quite interesting. So the basic principle which you need to understand of the mechanism in order to pick it is we got to learn what the parts of the disk detainer lock are. So you have lock body, of course, you have core, you have sidebar, which you can see here, and you have stacks of disks, which are here. So it's spacer disk, and so on and so forth. Now, the core has two cuts. One is for the sidebar to fall in, and the other is for the disks to turn. Now, maybe to explain this on a drawing. So you have a core with those two cuts, the smaller for the sidebar and the bigger for the protrusion on the disks, so they can move freely up to a certain point, but not the whole 360. Now, the main parts of the disks are the protrusion, which activates the core. So this would be in a locked position. It's up and you need to go down to activate the core to spin it. And you have this indentation, which serves, well, allows for the sidebar to fall in like this. So what makes the disk locks, the disk detaining locks possible to pick? Well, it's exactly this thing, because when you rotate the disk, you actuate the core, and the core presses the sidebar, which sits in a locked position. It sits in the indentations of the body of the lock and the indentation of the core, but it doesn't fall in unless there's corresponding indentation on the disk. So when the core moves, it will press on the sidebar against the lock body, and this will create friction on the disks which are not set, because as the core presses on the sidebar against the lock body, the sidebar wants to move inside where the indentation is supposed to be. So it creates kind of a friction on the disk, and you can feel it dragging or binding. But when it falls into that indentation, you will feel movement. Some disks have false gates, so you will feel small movement without drag, but you will know it's a false gate because false gates have shorter distance where they can travel, as opposed to the real gate where they have quite a bit of space. So one other thing I want to show you is this, how you can understand the talk about front tensioning and rear tensioning. The disk you want to tension off from is a zero cut disk, because if you tension off this disk, then all you have to do is set the other disks and the core will set. But if you have a disk which is not a zero cut, for instance, such as this one, if the protrusion actuates the core, the sidebar will not be able to fall into this indentation, and you will not get an open, but you can still tension off from such a disk if it's on a first position. If it's if zero cut is on the last position, then you would normally consider such a lock a rear tensioning lock, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be tensioned off from a first one which is not zero cut. Why? Because protrusion actuates the core. Now, what will happen in this scenario, you will set all of the other discs, and then when everything feels set, the core still doesn't move because you're tensioning off this one, and you need to spin it back. But in order to do that and to still get an open, you have to find one that is zero cut, and then you have to, so you're tensioning with this part, you're tensioning with this part on the disc, on disc 1, for instance, and you set the other discs with the tip of the pick. So if the first disc is not a zero cut, you tension off from it, you set all the other discs, and then you find one that is binding on the most clockwise position. You tension with the tip pick on that disc, and then you counter rotate the disc 1, which is a not a zero cut, until it gets the position where the sidebar can fall inside, and then you will basically turn the core with the tip of the pick. Otherwise, if you have a zero cut on position 1, you will rotate the core with the tensioner. Now, this also explains why you have to rotate the discs before picking to the most clockwise position, because you want to get, if you don't know which of the discs is a zero cut, this way you will get whichever disc is a zero cut, you will get it into the position where it actuates the core. Now, maybe if we can see the key. So here you have, this is a, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 discs. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 are either here or both up here. I think they're both up here, but we'll check that theory out in a moment. So we have this one is a zero cut, this one, and either these two or these two. Not sure which one is which, but let me show you what I mean. So when you get to the closed core, all of the protrusions are on this side. And then as you start moving the, sorry, let's see if I can maybe, no, I can't move it like that. So the zero cuts will actuate first, and we have, okay, that's 8, 7 is a zero cut, 5 is a zero cut, 4, 3, 2 and 1 are zero cut, and they actuate the core first. And the other, you can see 8, 6, 4 and 3, protrusions of those discs don't even reach the far side of the core, but they allowed for the sidebar to fall inside. So, as I said, in theory, this means that you can tension off of any disc, even if it's not a zero cut. It just makes a difference how you end up the picking process. So if you're using a front tensioning the pick and you tension off the first disc, you will set all the discs and then the core will move. If you're picking with a front tensioning tool a lock which doesn't have a zero cut on the first position, and it's not a front tensioning lock, then you will set all the discs, find a disc which is a zero cut, tension with the pick tip on it, and then counter rotate the first one which is a not zero cut, and that will get you open. So hopefully this is understandable. Hopefully this is not too long. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. And if there's someone with more experience than me, well, there's a lot of people with more experience than me, but someone who might have other information, please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time.